Hi class, Jolene here. I want to show you how you can pump your random color design up a notch or two by adding special effects to it. So you can see here I have, well, let me show you my swatches. I have several different color palettes here to choose from. Um, but that's an aside. I just want to show you. So this is the color palette I'm working with right now. And then I have also made several copies of my design before I put any color in it, so I can go back and recolor and do different things with it. So I'm gonna start with this one and show you how to add some special effects. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to go to my filter gallery. So here's a filter and then filter gallery. And there's just a whole bunch of choices in here. You can move the design by holding down the space bar and moving things around. Actually, you don't need to hold down the space bar. It just allows you to do it. So you can get a good see a lot of it all at one time. And then you'll notice that there's all these different categories. So let's just take a look at artistic. And that pretty much colored the lines and not the background, which is okay because then you could go back in and recolor the background if you wanted. So there's all these different things you can do. Now let's, with the artistic one, let's look at brush strokes. That one's called ink outlines. And you kind of just need to test each one of these. Now, so here I'm on spatter, and notice whichever one you're on, you can make adjustments to, in this case, how much spatter you have, or how little, and how smooth or not smooth it is. You can use those sliders. Let's try a different one, a completely different look. And here's what distort does, glass, ocean ripple, and again, you can change the size of that. Let's see, we've got sketch. Sketch probably, well, actually I was going to say probably wouldn't be the right thing to use for this project, but you know, maybe you could do something with that. The point is to experiment. So there's stylize and then texture. And this is a neat one because you can make it look like it's printed on canvas. There's stained glass, and again, you can change the cell sizes. Lots of fun things you can do with that. So I'll leave it on texturizer for now. And then what I usually do is name that so I remember how I did that one. Now I could make a copy of this and change the color palette. So got my paint bucket tool, and then, oh, you could go in and see what kind of interesting, actually that doesn't look like it's going to work. I wouldn't do that way because I could create, that's a whole interesting different way of doing it. So you could try that. All right, let's, I'm going to go back to this one and I'm going to make another copy. I'm using Control or Command J to make another copy. And now I'm just going to focus on my type, which is I've got everything that's up here in this layer. And you should have multiple layers of type as you try different fonts. So you could go down to, here's another way of doing special effects right here. Special effects, you could then add a drop shadow. So this whole window opens and you're going to want to move it so you can see what's going on, because as you make changes, you'll be able to see them. So maybe that drop shadow is a little bit too much and I take down to about 2. Let's see what happens if I add a stroke. Ooh, that's not good, especially since it's a gradient stroke. So I'll change it to color. That's awful. But maybe I'll change it to a color that one of the colors I'm using. So if I go outside the color picker and choose one of these colors, I can add that stroke, but that stroke is way too much. So I could change it to 1, and even then, it I don't know, it's probably not that great for this small of type. So I'm just going to unclick and take that off. I can also change the color of the type. So again, maybe I'll choose a color that's in my palette, that I already know is in my palette. And one thing I'm liking about this yellow type is, I don't know if you noticed, but I used color to draw the eye up to my type. So all of the yellow is kind of drawing you up here. So the yellow type might be a good idea for that. And then, as you can see, for color overlay, there's lots of choices here too. So that's not an effect I want. None of I don't know if any of these are going to work because they're changing the color, and I really just want it to be yellow in this case. Okay, so that brings me back to yellow, and I'm just going to go back to normal. Another fun thing you can do is add bevel and emboss to whatever it is you have selected there. There's lots of different choices for bevel and emboss. So you should just experiment with this. So that's emboss with chisel hard. Let me make it chisel smooth. And then you can adjust how much of that you're going to get. Now here's another thing you can do. I'm going to go back to my background that I'm working with here. You can go to filter, and there's a bunch of different things you can do within this one. So let's see what happens with distort, for instance. Oh, this takes you back to this. So that's the same one. Hold on, let me find. Okay, the one I wanted to show you was Pixelate. So you can try this and see what happens with this. You get that kind of a look. Now let's see. Let's look at noise. Add noise. So that just added more noise. You can add a lot or just a little. There's a lot of things you can do there. Under filter, you can also distort. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Here it is. Let's look at blur. You can do a motion blur. Ooh, wow, very blurry. So you would have to, consider what your event is and whether these types of filters are appropriate for it. Let's try another one. I mean, I very much encourage you to go in and try lots of different things, but make sure that it seems appropriate. So here's, what did I just choose there? I've already forgotten. I'll go back at it and look at it again. So with this one, you can move it around. Should be able to stretch it. So this just adds a whole other way of doing things. There's lots of different ways to manipulate that. So the point is, try lots of different things. Keep in mind that every filter you use, oh, that looks terrible. I'm going to do Command Z and take it away. Will make your file size larger. So just, keep that in mind. And have fun with filters.